Hi everyone, welcome to Artistic Digitizer. This is Basics and Beyond. Let me go ahead and get the camera on. Here we go. Hi everyone, I'm Anne Hein, Embroidery Software Specialist for Janome America, and today I'm talking about how to work with embroidery files. Now, we have in the software, of course, we can create our own embroidery files from start to finish, using a graphic or drawing something or bringing things in together and creating. But we can also manipulate our already made, maybe purchased or maybe things from our machine, embroidery designs. And I wanted to give you a few hints and tips of how to work with them, or maybe some inspiration of how you would work with them. Okay, so let me open the software. As we go along, if you have questions, please post them below. I'll be sure to come back if I don't see them and answer them afterwards. All right, so let's go here and get the software up. Here it is. So I'm at the welcome page, and I'm going to go ahead and choose right here on my welcome page. This is a design we see quite often. It's one of my favorites. It's the little horse design. It is a JEF file I can see right there, as opposed to the butterfly that's a draw file. This is a JEF file as well, and this is a little JEF file down here as well. So I'm going to open up this one first. And the difference between a draw file and a JEF file is this is a JEF file, and if you look over here in the sequence menu over here, and I'm going to turn on my properties and my colors right now. There we go. In the properties, you can see when I select a piece, it says raw. Okay, so I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. If I open something that is a draw file, like here, and I select something, you can see the properties are over in the properties window. And that's because it's a draw file. A draw file is the editable format of a design, and it's one that's created from the ground up. You can't just take a JEF file and save it as a draw file. It doesn't become a draw file at that point. It still has its properties of being a JEF file. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here close and take a look at this, and let me move this way a little bit. All right, so on this, I can go ahead and select different parts of this, and they all say raw on here. But if I wanted to change something, maybe this background of the red, I really wanted to make that have a different pattern or something like that. So in that case, I can convert just one part of it. And I want to make sure I keep my auto density adjust checked. So it will auto adjust the density for me, so I don't have to work on that. So I'm going to go ahead and here, and I can go to convert. And it has, I think it's picked up all those red parts. There we go. Let me undo that again and go back. If I have that piece there, what is that? That's just that part. I'm going to convert it to curves. And then I can come in here and I can pick a pattern, and maybe I want that to have that type of a pattern there. Let me do the bottom part, convert that, and I can make it have a pattern. So I can change, and this one needs the direction change because I can't see the pattern. So I'm going to go to stitch flow. There's direction. I just need to put a little line in here. There we go. And maybe I turn it a little bit this way. So it's the same, kind of the same up there. There you go. So you can make changes to the pattern. At this point, because I've converted it, I can change the density here of it myself. I can make density changes right there. So if there's anything I need to change that way, I could do it. On this outer part, if I wanted to work with that there, I would convert it to curves. I would convert it to curves. And then there we go. And now that it turns it into a satin fill, but if I want it to be really an outline, I can right click on it, convert fill to center line, because it's a fill. And I know it's a fill because look here the sequence window. This is a solid square. It says fill up there. And for me to make this a center line, if I want to work with it as a center line, I could select it again. Now it's an outline and it's a satin serial. From there, if I wanted to make it a run line, I could. And then if I wanted to add a decorative stitch around my pony, I could do that also. So I could make changes like that. You do need to select the part that you want. You don't have to convert the whole thing, but you can if you want. So that's working with just converting parts of it. If I brought in the pony again, I'm going to go back and get him on my welcome page. I'm going to open him again. Actually, I'm going to open the Jeff that's down here. So if I open this up, and I'm going to select the whole thing, and I decide that I want this to be larger. Okay, right now we can see it's 10,000 stitches. And if I want to increase the size, I want to make sure I've checked the auto density adjust so that it'll continue to stay properly having the right density as you go out. So I can drag the corners out like this, and now you can see it's more stitches, and it's kept a nice density. If I undo this, let's see what happens if I uncheck that, and then I pull this up a bit like that. And it's not going up in stitch count. I think it's just, let me go back again to the beginning of it because I forgot to look. Yeah, when you do it like this without adjusting the density, basically what it's doing is stretching out your design. Let me go back a little bit and I can make it really big like this. You can see the stitch count is not changing. And now you can see that it's become a lot thinner. And maybe I want it that way. The density has been changed. But if I check auto density right there, it brings it up a bit. I think I only selected one part of it. So if I go back and start from the beginning, like that, and I select my auto density, you can see now when I make it bigger, the stitch number will change at the bottom, and it will be more like when you first used it. Okay, I didn't convert this, I just resized it or scaled it and had it change the stitches. Before, I was just resizing, and there is a difference. Someone was talking to me about that the other day, saying the difference between, we say resize it, and you have to think about that. I can resize this, yes. Let me just select it again, and I'll turn off the auto density. If I just resize this, that means make it larger, like this. It doesn't change my stitch count. Okay, it does change, how big everything is, and as it gets pulled out further, it will be more stretched out between the stitches, and you can see there's gaps now in there. So that's resizing. If you resize, it's like in our machine, we can resize up 20% or down 20%. If we want to make it larger, we're doing what's called scaling. So when you scale it, you are changing the stitch count and the density as you go. So that's what you want to do here. I'm going to put it back in the center. If I wanted to scale this, I wanted to make it bigger and keep the density and the stitch count, I would do auto adjust the density. And then as it got bigger, you can see the stitch count went up. So that changed, and it kept that same integrity as I go around. All right. And if there was anything, if I wanted to change anything in here, I was looking to see where that star was. It is on top, I guess. Yeah. So I could change anything in here. And if I wanted to convert certain things, I could convert those, and then I could play with them from there. All right. So you have to remember if you're sizing it, if you're resizing it, you're just changing the size of it and stretching the stitches out. If you wanted to recalculate those stitches and scale it, that's when in your, let me undo that back to the other one. That means when you have something selected, you make sure you have the auto density adjust selected over here. So it will do that for you. All right. Now, another thing you can do with it, and I always like to mention about the resizing and the scaling and the density of things. And we did talk about on the pony of picking individual parts and converting individual parts. You can also take your embroidery and you can come up here to convert, and you can convert it to redwork. So I'm going to click on there, and it's thinking about it. There we go. Oh, it's thinking. It'll go in a minute. There we go. So this is a redwork, and you can see it's not very pretty on there, right? So typically what I've been finding is, I'm going to undo that. When I want to do redwork, I will select of a certain design. I will convert the whole thing to curves. And then this has some black in the background I don't want. So I'm going to select it. I'm going to select this, select by outline color. Nope. Yeah. No, by fill. I think I want to take away the fill. I'm going to delete that fill. There we go. And I'm just going to leave that part of it. And now when I select it, I think I'm going to want to delete this part here, select by color, and delete that. There we go. Those extra things that are under there. And then I want to do convert to redwork. It gives me a cleaner redwork design. And then from here, if I wanted to make this maybe a bean stitch, one of my favorites, there we go, a bean stitch. Doesn't that look cute? I like that. That came out really nice. So what I did with this design, I'm going to go back and undo it. There we go. And I'm going to actually uncheck this auto density when I do my convert to curves and see if there's a difference in the design. So I did that, and then I am going to select by color the black and delete it, and select it again because I don't want it to convert that, and delete that again. So now I have my design just as we did before. I can select it here in my sequence window, go to convert to redwork. And it gives me a nice look. Now let me go back one, because when I converted that to curves, I get some other options in here. Create outline from shapes, create fill from shapes. So if I wanted to, let me open up my sequence window. If I want to select just this outer part and then go to convert, I can do convert fill to center line. And now it becomes a satin serial, but maybe I wanted a running stitch. And from there, I can give it a decorative stitch and play with my design that way. So there's lots of ways to work with your design. I did convert all of this design. I didn't have to, but I wanted to show you that there are other things that you can do with those converted parts. So let me go back again to when it's back in its formal. There we go. If I just wanted to work with this outer part here, and convert that, I could convert it. In this case, I would want to convert fill to center line. I can right click and find that as well. Go to running, and then in running, I can change this to a decorative stitch. So I only changed that other part. Now in this design, it does have this under part, and I'm going to delete that. I can delete both parts of that black. So if there's parts I don't want, I can delete them. That's really cute. I like it like this. All right, so that gives you some ideas. You can convert to curves, parts of it, and that's just meaning you're bringing that part back to its basic elements, and then you are in charge of fixing it and doing things with it as you want. And we showed you how to get to redwork. That works out good. Let me look here again. I had something else that I wanted to look at. I think it's this Jeff here. All right, so say you have something like this, And, you know, it's one of those cases where I want to add something right here in the belly. And, you know, I want to make sure I have my stitch things in the right way. And how this one stitches is it's stitched the last, it is a stuffy. So the last piece of fabric that you lay a fabric over this is right after this red part. And then it does this outline here. So if you're wanting to add something to like a zip pouch or an in the hoop project, you have to figure out where it's going to fit in the sewing part of it. So you have to put it in the right place. And so maybe I want to put, you know, I could put a heart under his hands here. Well, I would have to remember to move it up here. So let me go get, I'm going to look for a heart here. I think I put one. I don't know if I did put one in my clip art library. I did this last week. So here we go. I'm going to make a little heart here like that. And I'm just going to bring it over here and set it kind of in here and move it down till I get it to about the size I want. Now, in stitching this, this has to go before his hands. Can you see that? I want his hands on top. So what I'm going to do is select this and I'm going to move up, and then where his hands are, then I'm going to put in the heart. So it's going to stitch this heart and then his hands. And we could make this, I could delete the inside of this. I'm going to make that heart a pink color. There we go. So it doesn't compete with the other, with the red that's in there. There we go. And I could make this much wider because it's still, let's make it 3mm. There we go. And it's going to be behind his hands. Now it's kind of weird because the hands, you know, you can see it. It's not a covered thing. So if I wanted to, you know, I could bring it. Nah, I don't like it down there. But you get the idea that you have to remember where to put things in the order if you wanted to add to it. If I wanted to just put the little heart, maybe I just wanted to put a little heart down here by his foot, down here. I'm going to put that down here. And then I'm just going to make this the outline 2.0mm because it's small. And I'm going to give it a fill. So I'm going to give it a, I'm going to go to my colors, and I want it to have a very light pink or maybe a purple fill. There we go. So now it's going to be down here. So I really should put it in before we do the final stitch out, which is the one with the little opening. So I'm going to do it there. So it'll stitch everything that's in here from top to bottom. And then I'll lay my fabric down, and then it'll stitch this portion of it. Okay. So just something to remember about the order of putting things in line. Okay, so let's see. We talked about sizing, working with, let me find one more design. I'm going to open another one. I think I need to go to my Finder. Here it is. This is my key fob. So I'm going to copy this. And then I'm going to come in here to a new page and paste it. So this is a little key fob. Let me put it in a smaller hoop as well because it doesn't need to be in a big hoop. Again, this is one of those things. It's an in the hoop project, and it's going to stitch a placement line and then a tack down. Let me undo these. Let me ungroup this so we have a better way to look at them. There we go. So this is the outer bounds. You want to make sure your fabrics are going at least out to there, and or the I'm holding down a fabric. It's going to stitch the inner part, and the last part is this outer outline. So if I wanted to put a name in here, I would want to do it after I do this. I'm layer. You can either yeah, I would want to put it in before that. So I could come to my lettering, and up here I could do, let's just go up to my, something up here that looks nice. This is a good one. And I'm just going to click in there, and I'm going to say Annie. And I'm going to make this smaller. Let's make it a 20 and see if that fits. I'll select it. It looks like it's going to fit in there. There it is. So I definitely want this to stitch before the last part of this does, because this is the how this stitches is you have this is like a tack down or basting, I think, on there, and then it's going to stitch down a fabric in the center, and then on the back I'm going to lay down this. Oh, this might be in a weird order, I'm not sure, but anyways, you want to make sure that this is going to stitch before you stitch the final piece. So I would have to move it up like that. I can just slide it up on there. So you have to know your design before you're stitching it. So you have to understand the way it's going. Okay. This is a little key fob. So more than likely I have a large piece of cork that I laid down to stitch down. And then I may lay a second piece on for here. And then I'm going to do my name. And I'll trim around this piece before I do my name. And then it'll stitch this last outline here, and then I'll trim next to that green outline when I get done. All right, it's a little hard to understand how it is. I don't know if I have that one. I had one hanging here for a while, but I think it's gone. Yeah, it kind of got moved. But that's what you have to think about. If you have to stitch it out first to understand the directions, or look at the directions that come with it so you know. And of course here, I might change that font, but I might do a break apart here. So I have I don't have those jump stitches in there. I may decide to delete the fill and just keep the inner part of it. Okay. And I could do break apart here so it doesn't have that little jump. There we go. All right. All right. Let me go back to the camera. Here we go. And get my picture back up here. There we go. All right. So that gives you a little bit of thought about working with embroidery designs. One last thing though, a lot of times, you know, if you want to, and I'm going to go back to software so I can show this. I like to use my software all the time, even if I'm going to look for a design and I just want to, it's a ready-made design. And I like to use my software as my browser so I can see all my designs. And I don't want to open it to the work page, because sometimes when you open ready-made designs to the work page and you're not working on them, the software could do some things to join things together and so forth, and you might not want that. Your color numbers may change in that. So let me show you how you can handle that. I'm sure that question's going to come up. Let's go back to the software. All right, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to open up, let's just open up this little thing here, my little mushrooms. There they go, and I'm going to put them in a smaller hoop. They can go in here. There we go. All right, now I opened it right in here, and then I would send this right to my machine. But you know what? That's not really what I want to do with it. I just want to look at it in the browser. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my browser where I have it open here, and I'm not sure where that little mushroom is, but I'm going to open up a embroidery in here. Let me see what these hairdos are. Okay, so these are all Jeff files. So I opened them in my browser so I could see them. And this is the one I want to take to my machine. So, or to my USB stick. And I don't have, let me put a USB, oh dear, what's going on here? Yeah, I think I just broke a USB stick. There we go. All right, let me see, put this one in. So see if it'll show up on the, yeah, I have about 3 of, oh, there he goes. Is it gonna blink? I don't think that one's good. Let me take that out. I can see my 2 sewing machines there, and put this one in. I think might be right here. No, it's not. All right, so let me go back to my. All right, so this is the one I want, and I want to take it to my machine. If my USB stick is here, I would open that up. But what I want to do first is this is the one I want. I'm going to right-click on it and copy. And then I'm going to go to the built-in portion of my machine, or this might be my USB stick, and I could right-click here and paste. And now I didn't take it into the program. I just put it on my USB stick. Let me see if it's come up here. No, it's not. Or if I wanted to put it on my CM17 in the built-in drive, oh, let me put that back up. I can only do the built-in drive. I can't send it directly to the screen. So I can click on built-in drive. These are all the things that are on the drive of my machine right now in the built-in portion of it. And then I can just right-click here and paste. And there's the design on in my machine now, right there. So you don't have to open up. The point I'm trying to make is you don't have to open it to the work page. You can open to look at your folders. Like I can come over here into my favorites, and I can open my embroidery categories. And maybe I'm going to look at these florals here. I don't know what's in here. Maybe these cactuses. Well, those are my draw file cactuses right there. But if there were anything in here that was let's go back to these florals. Like this is a Jeff file. I'm like, oh, that's the one I want. I would just right click, copy, go over here to where I wanted to put it. Either in my CM17, I have my S9 here. I'm going to put it over here and paste. There it is. And now it's in my machine. Or it would be on my USB stick if that's where I was going to go with it. And that would be right here. It's going as an unnamed piece. I could paste it there. So now I have two designs on my USB stick. Okay. All right. So hopefully that will help you out when working with the software and looking at your designs and working with those designs that are, you're already embroidery files, whether they be Jeff files, PES files, or whatever. And our software, I'm a Janome person, but I can open any of the major brands in my software. So I don't have to do anything different. I can have it in my list in my file, and I could right click on it, paste and bring it in, or I could drag it in, or I could go to navigate to it under my favorites or whatever and open it into the software, whether I open it to a work page or I open it to just to the browser portion so that I can see it and then I can take it to my machine. In those cases, you need to make sure that you're converting it to your format. You have to open that, I think, onto the work page and then do file save as a Jeff so you can get it over to your machine. All right. So hopefully that'll help you with working with your designs. If you have further questions, just post them below. I'll be back to answer those. I'll be back next week. And I think what I'm doing is name drop. Okay, I think that's on my list. I'm going to take a look at that. Sometimes it changes, but if you haven't played with this feature, I'm going to show you the name drop feature. All right, everybody, thanks for joining me. Have a great day, and we'll see you again. Bye for now.